recording. Okay, so you got my email, I hope, and I sent it this morning about when I was putting out my palette. I thought, you know, I want to put out some cobalt blue, and it is dripping, as you can see, all the way down my palette here. Ugh. Normally I would paint with my palette flat on a table, but so y'all can see what I'm doing. But I'll just say what these are really quick. Of course, this is my M-gram titanium white. This is Hansa yellow. One of them is light and medium. I think this is the medium actually, although this looks a little darker. So I guess this is a Hansa yellow light. This is a Hansa yellow medium. And now you probably have the CADs, and I have cadmiums too. And I'll probably use up what I have. But like I said before, I'm trying to get away from some of the cadmium colors. This is the transparent orange made by Gamblin. This is the, this is called Naphthol. I think that's how you pronounce it. Naphthol red, made by Gamblin. And I put that out to try to use that instead of a CAD red light. So that's why I put that out. And this is my permanent red medium. And this is permanent rose, which you have on your palette. I mean, on your supply list, you had permanent rose. And that's a beautiful transparent color that a lot of times I will glaze pink or red flowers with that to kind of place them on the canvas. And you'll see what I'm going to see what I mean in just a moment. This is called permanent. Let's see. I got this as a sample, permanent matter deep. And so I guess we have somebody else joining us today. Who is that? Let me take a second. Oh, okay. Sharice is here. And Mel. Hi, Mel. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, guys. I'm glad you were able to join us. So we missed you last week with Mel, but I'm glad you can make it today.
Yeah. I can't believe this is the last one. It went by pretty fast.
I know. I know. Well, I'd appreciate it if you guys would let me know what you think when I send out the survey in a week or so. Okay. So constructive criticism is very much appreciated. So anyway, I was going over my colors that I'm going to use today, and this is permanent rose. Now this is that permanent matter deep, and I think it's kind of a alizarin-y color, and so I'm going to try it today. I got that as a sample, and that's what this is. And this is permanent alizarin crimson. This is ultramarine blue, and this is cobalt blue. Okay. So, all right. And move my camera back around here. You can see my roses that I'm going to be painting. I'm painting on an 8x8. This canvas is an 8x8 size. And you guys are looking at my TV screen, although I'll just flip you around here a second. You can see my TV screen there, but I'm painting from life. There are the roses. But the reason I decided to point the video camera at the TV, there that is because the video camera gets in the way of the still life. And most of the time it's not a big deal. I can manage it. But today, since I'm painting these roses, and roses take a little bit longer to paint, for me anyway, because I like to take my time. And so that's why you are seeing the photograph that I took of these, but it's the same, it should be the very same viewpoint is what I'm seeing. So actually that might be a little better because I think in the past when I point the video at the still life itself, it tends to be a tiny bit different than what I'm looking at. So what you're seeing me do may be a little bit confusing. So maybe this is better in the long run. Hope that makes sense. So, okay. And I sent you a photo of a little Notan sketch that I did. And the reason I did that was because I don't always do a Notan sketch, but it just makes it a little bit easier to place stuff on your canvas and to get an idea in your head about not placement and composition and where your dark and light shape patterns are going to be. So we've talked about that with Notan, how important it is to have a good design. And so I know that a lot of you, and you've told me, haven't had a chance to do a lot of painting. My daughter hasn't been able to. She's been working a lot. And so, you know, take your time. You're going to have access to these videos. So take your time. And after class is over, which is today, if you want to shoot me an email occasionally and say, hey, can you critique this, or can you give me a little feedback, I don't mind doing that. So, okay, let me go ahead and get started then. Quit yakking. So, okay, I decided not to paint the base. But I want to connect this rose. Now, the same, here's my drawing, guys. Here's my just abstract shapes of, I'm trying to get the general shape of this top right rose, the one on the top there. And then I'm not going to paint those two roses up above. Now you can, when you do your painting, if you want to, you can do those top right roses. But I'm going to just do the three. It's very important when you're painting roses to get the direction that they are going. And the way you tell that is just mostly by the center. Most roses have a bowl, what I've heard described as a bowl in the center. And so look at where that bowl is and where the rose is actually pointing, because that gesture is important. Okay, so this petal comes out here, and now I may connect all three of these. It's the beauty of painting. You can move stuff around. I think that's a little too low. So move it up. Okay. So I know I'm connecting these and they're not connected in the photo. I realize that. I'm connecting them for design purposes. Now this one is pointing over this way, kind of going this direction. And this one, same thing, only not as much. It's going that direction. And this one is going the opposite direction. So I kind of want to get that tilt in there. So with our drawing skills, okay, I do a light sketch like this just to get the objects on the canvas, but you're drawing the whole time you're painting, really, because I will come back in and carve some of these out with what's behind it. And that's just part of the drawing process of it. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to make a little more of that gray. It turned out a little bit more violet-y than I thought, but I'm going to make a little more of that because I'm going to be using some of that, I think. And let's just use transparent orange as my yellow. You remember, our value is key. Getting the values right in our in the flowers are so important, because if you don't have that value contrast, if you don't, and if there's one thing that I see in most of you guys' work that you've sent me, is that you probably need to really squint down and look at those value contrasts, those value relationships, because that right there is what's going to make your painting sing. Now, this is a little blue. It's gray, but it's a little, it's a warmer, I mean, a cooler gray. I'm going to add a little more warmth in there. Warm it up. Warm it up. That's better. Still a little blue, but that's okay. And I'm just going to set that right there and wipe off the excess. With some mineral spirits. Okay. All right. Once I've gotten my, and I know in my head kind of where my Notan design is going. Now I'm going to start putting in some color. And when I'm painting pink or red roses, I like to use either permanent rose and thin it down. This is similar to when we painted the daisies. I used a transparent orange as a wash underneath my flowers for the transparent daisies. And I mean, for the daisies. And I like to use transparent orange. It's very transparent. I like to use it as a little glaze or wash underneath flowers if they're yellow or if they're white, because there's a lot of warmth a lot of times in the center of those white flowers. If the flowers are red or start leaning more toward the red family, then I'll use a permanent rose, or because it's also very transparent. I don't know if y'all can see how transparent that is, but it's really transparent. So I'm going to just glaze that in and where my, keeping in mind where the centers of those flowers are. Oh, that's such a beautiful color. Okay. Everywhere where my rose is going to be. And as far as brushwork goes, look how I'm moving my brush back and forth. Usually I have women in my classes. I've had a few guys, but mostly women. And so I tell them, pretend you're scrubbing a pan that's got something stuck to it. And so use that kind of stroke like that. Now, again, no detail at first. Big shapes. This is for placement for my Notan, and these will move. Okay.
Judy, are you thinning that paint with anything?
Yes, with my mineral spirits.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit of mineral spirits. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So now I'm going to go back, and now this is that permanent matter, permanent matter. That's kind of a pretty color. It's real similar to permanent rose. I'm going to stay away from that right now because it's not quite dark enough. I'm going to go into my alizarin now and put in the centers of these. I'm just placing my centers because they're darker and warmer inside those roses. Now, I could even add just a touch of ultramarine blue to darken that up even more. I want to get those centers really dark because they are, and I want to place them in approximately the right spot. Now, I'll say this is how I paint roses. It's not the only way to do things, but it's how I do it. So at this point, we're just thinking about big shapes of color, okay? Actually, I could go in. All right, now we're going to get into a little bit of drawing and value shapes, okay? Let me show you. Here is, if I squint down, either on the photo or on my TV up here, or my flowers themselves, this side of the flowers, see right here, that's all in shadow. This part of the flowers are in shadow. I'm gonna just scrub a little bit of that alizarin plus I've got some permanent rose mixed in there. There's a lot of shadow planes on this flower up in here. So let me just, let's squint down and say, also remember your light is coming from this direction. Okay, my light source is I'll just show you where my light box is. Over here, you see the light box, okay? So it's hitting all of the left side of those flowers. It's really apparent like that, isn't it? So if you squint way down, you see it. It's hard to make yourself squint, I know, but if you will make yourself learn to do that, especially for you newbies. Uh-oh, lost my, there. I hope that's not an offensive word, newbies, but for those of you that haven't painted in the past, if you can make yourself get into the habit of, it's the best habit you can get into of squinting down at your subject in order to really see the light plane and the shadow plane. So back to those same two colors and defining where my dark shapes. This is what we've done with everything we've painted these 6 weeks, is putting in those dark shapes. Dark here. There are some dark spots all over in here. Now, this is still, even though this flower here is more in shadow, okay, than the other two. These have a lot of light on this side of them. This one has spots of light throughout. So it's hard to decipher, but you have to, like I said, you have to remember which direction your light is coming from. And if you get lost, just remember that and say, okay, I'm going to have to accentuate the shapes over here rather than, okay, I heard a beep. Are we still all together? Somebody shout at me. Everybody still there?
We're here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
here. I
still
think
here.
one dropped off.
I'm sorry.
I think one dropped off. I think we had 11, now we have 10.
Okay, somebody dropped off. Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. So now, I'm just going to take a clean, I have cleaned my brush with my terps and my paper towel here really well. Get most of that paint off. And I'm gonna direct myself with these flowers by removing some of the paint that I've put on there. This is gonna just help guide me a little bit. And I'm actually going to take just a little bit. And this is my drawing. I'm going back to my drawing. I go back and forth, back to my drawing. To my value. There is a light hitting back there on that one. And right here. These two roses, you see more of what's underneath that bowl. This one is more face on, and it's flowering out more. So that's one reason you only see parts of light hitting that rose here. And I'm going to put some more color back in right here. So far, all I've done is use some transparent paint and then taking some of it off. And I am stepping back or scooting back. I'm on a little roller stool here. And I scoot back pretty frequently to look at it from a distance. It really helps to, okay, that's all I'm going to do for right now. It helps to look at your painting from a distance. Usually I stand when I paint. Susan has taken a class from me in person, so she knows that usually I stand, and if I need to, I take breaks, but it's harder to get the camera equipment set up when you're standing. So for some reason. So I've decided to just do the class on sitting down on my roller stool. But I have a roller stool that I go back and forth. I use it a lot. So, okay, now I'm going to take a little of this off. I'm going to leave some of that on my palette, but I want to take a little of that off. This is a glass palette, so I don't want to leave any terps on it because, or mineral spirits, because I don't want to thin out my other colors unintentionally. If I thin them out, I want it to be intentional. Now I'm going to take a lot of ultramarine blue and transparent orange. Now, let me tell you something about these two colors. These two colors are great because they make a real transparent color when you mix them together because they're both transparent. But you can add more transparent orange to some of that and have a warmer tone. Let me see if I can turn that around so you can see that a little bit better. Let me move my light back just a little. Anyway, you can warm this up or cool it off. So if you want a real cool green, and you see that a lot in landscapes. I don't know if we talked about that much last week, but you'll see some cooler greens and you'll see some warmer greens. And I think you see that really well in that Edgar Payne photo that I sent you. Wendy actually mentioned that, how he used the warm and cool to bounce off of each other. So this is what, when someone's telling you, oh, warm it up or cool it off. Of course, we've talked about this. These are all your warmer colors, but it's all relative. So here is your cool colors. These colors here have a little bit more blue in them already. So it's all relative. So out of all of these warm colors, these would be a little bit cooler. these are going to be real hot. Okay. And of course you have your cool colors here, but sometimes you see almost a blue green in trees and other things. And maybe you can see that a little bit better. And then a lot of times you'll see warmer greens. So that will help you decide, or help you mix a warmer and a cooler green. Kind of go off on a tangent there. So I'm going to just have a kind of a medium green here that makes a real nice type sap color. And squinting down, those leaves behind, let me thin that out a little bit. I don't want it to get real thick right now because I'm going to be playing with those roses. But I want to design my
Judy, we
background.
can't see the canvas now.
Oh, sorry. How's that?
Thank
Thank you. And I'm going to go off the edge probably with my leaves. And then this background color back here is going to be a tad bit lighter. And I want to get some darks going in and go off the canvas here. Okay. Now I may have to take some of that off. I don't know yet. We'll see. But I left it kind of thin, so I can take it off if I need to. Okay, I'm going to move this green up here. I'm going to start putting some lights on my flowers. Okay. All right. So lots of white. As you can see, I put out a ton of white today. And I am going to grab some permanent rose. Now that makes a real Pepto-Bismol-y pink. So I'm gonna add, let me try this permanent rose here, or permanent red first. I want to warm it up a little bit. But I'm not going to go to yellow. And the reason is I want those flowers to stay pink. They're pink. So I'm trying to use a little bit that's why I put out more colors today. Because if you're painting red flowers, especially those really dark red roses that you buy in the grocery store, I don't particularly care to paint those, but I have. And you really have to bring your color up in value by using other colors. And instead of going directly to white, if you add too much white to these reds, like you can see here, it turns pink. So if you want to keep the flower red, you have to go up in value with, say, these cad red light, or one of your lighter valued reds. Does that make sense? I hope. So, okay, I'm using this flat, soft brush. Now you could, now if I have trouble laying the paint on here, then I may have to go to my bristle brush. I'm going to clean my brush off. Try to keep my brush clean, and I'm going to be going back and forth with these colors. Ooh, look how pretty that is. That's that permanent red medium. Because even though the light is hitting these petals, there's some darker colors down in the center of that flower. There's a little bit over here. Just trying to gauge my values. And hitting those lights. Softening, I'm softening edges as I go. I can see I need to put my center back in for that guy. Oops, too light back there. That value is not that light back there. More of a medium value. So I've got my piles here next to each other, so I can gauge my values when I'm mixing. So if I feel like, okay, this is too light, I can make something in between. And oops. I don't know if you can hear my chair moving back and forth, but I'm softening edges as I go. Now, some of these edges need to stay hard. I didn't say this. I think I said it in my email, but I really don't care for painting store-bought roses And the reason I don't is because they're so tight. But I've been stressed. They're so tight and very seldom do. Now these have opened up fairly decently, but they still have a real tight center going on in there. They're harder for me to paint. I'll admit that. But I love painting like antique roses. I have a bunch of rose bushes in my flower beds, and I planted them for that reason. Even though we don't really grow roses that well down here, or where we live because of the soil. But I've managed to grow a few, and they open up so beautifully. You can see the centers of them better. And just trying to think if I've got one. Oh, a couple of rose paintings in here. Anyway, you've probably seen them if you've gone to my website, but they're just not so much more fun to paint. And so I generally stick with those, but occasionally, I'm like during the winter time, you can't hardly get, I mean, my rose bushes aren't blooming right now. So luckily I found these at Trader Joe's. Now I'm just going back in and hitting some of my medium value shapes in here.
You got a Trader Joe's in Bluffdale?
Oh no, not in Bluffdale, in Fort Worth. I was in Fort Worth a few days ago.
I'm just making, this is Mel and Granbury. I'm just making sure I'm
Yeah.
not missing out.
No, I wish we did. We have zero places
I
to
know.
stop in
Yeah.
Bluffdale, except for our little front porch gift shop. It's really cute, Mel. Sometime if you're over this way, Linda, Betty, the front porch is and she has some of my paintings in there too.
Oh,
But
okay.
she's got a cute shop. And I'm hoping she doesn't close. She's talked about it, but okay, let me go back in here. No, I was in Fort Worth, I guess, Wednesday. And so I went to Trader Joe's. So I'm restating my dark shapes. So much of painting roses is what's behind it. And the background, carving out the shapes with your background colors. So you guys really can't see very well. If I continue to do this, I have got to figure out some better cameras or something that show what I'm doing a little bit better. So I apologize for that. But I will send you a photo because my painting looks a little different from. So softening edges, continuing to go back and forth with trying to get my correct values. In here. Okay, I'm going to take some of this dark green and carve out a better shape for these roses, for this rose here. There's a dark that comes up in here. Okay. So you can see that it takes some playing around with these roses. So much of it's the drawing, and I'm not 100% happy with the drawing of this right now. I'm trying to figure out what it is that's bugging me. I think it may be okay. I'm gonna go on and let this set up a little bit. Lindy Mel was so good at painting roses.
Yes, she was. I have
She-
quite a few of her paintings.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
She was so good at painting roses. And that's kind of, she just, I can't say enough nice about Lindy. I mean, she was funny, and I felt sorry for her because at the end of her, I mean, when she started getting older, she started losing her hearing, as you know.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she couldn't hear,
Yeah.
and so we actually ended up taking a few workshops together. And after I quit taking private lessons from her, and people would get aggravated at her because she talked so loud, but she just,
Yeah.
you know, she just couldn't hear.
Yeah.
And I tried to tell people that she just, you know, be patient. She just can't hear.
I don't know why her hearing was so bad, and she hated wearing those
Hearing aids, yeah.
hearing aids. We went through so many, and yeah, you
Yeah.
know, we'd be cooking in the kitchen and everybody's talking, and you know, she's not really saying anything, and then I look over and she's like, I don't have my hearing aids on.
Oh, oh, bless her heart.
Yeah.
She was so funny.
She was funny. Yeah.
That was such an enjoyable time of my life. My kids were in preschool, my two younger ones,
Oh, wow.
and I would drop drop them both off at the preschool. And so, okay, I'm overworking this. Sorry, I'll tell y'all that later, but I'm getting this a little overworked. So I'm going to move on. Overworked and a little bit too picky. And this is kind of one reason why I almost said, well, I don't know if I want to do, because I have to really think about what I'm doing when I'm painting these. So the light is hitting there on this one, and over here. Here. And I need to put back in some permanent rose. It's really pink over here on this side. I have to play around with these a lot. Oops, lost our photo. It's all about value shapes though. And I just can't stress that enough. And the more you do it, the better you will get at it. I guarantee you. Just don't quit. Don't quit painting. Enjoy it enjoy the journey. That's half of it right there. And you know, a lot of times I end up and I may who knows, I may trash this one, but I've got so many paintings that I've thrown away over the years. If I can keep my husband from dragging it out of the trash, he'll say, don't throw that away. That's nice. This is art. There's light hitting over on this side of this flower.
So Judy, are you wiping your brush basically
Yes,
every stroke?
yes, just
Okay.
yes, yeah. Don't do this. Don't pick up a little paint, put it on your flower, and then expect that to go to paint the whole thing. You've got to keep picking up more paint. That's why I put out so much paint today, is because really important to keep plenty of your paint. And you notice I pick up paint and put it down, and pick up and put it down. And I'm trying to keep the flow of those flowers, the gesture. Do y'all understand what I mean by the gesture? The way they're leaning, just the character of each rose. I still am not happy with the drawing of this one. And I think it's because I should have dropped it down like it is in the photo. So I may redo this and drop that one down later. And how would I do that? Okay, well, at the end of the painting day, a lot of times, I mean, if I don't like the way it's looking, you can take your palette knife when your paint is still wet and just scrape everything off, or scrape a portion of it off. Like that. Scrape off what you don't like to get that excess paint, and then redo it. Part of what I may not be happy with on this one is that I need to move that bowl over a little bit. Y'all understand what I mean by the bowl of the flower? It's just where the center is and where it lies. it takes some guts to wipe off what you've done already, but a lot of times it ends up better. I have a friend that said she took classes from a famous artist in California. His name was Vincent Farrell. And whenever he heard somebody scraping a portion of their painting off, he would say, "There is a very advanced student." So we used to kid all the time, "I must be very advanced." And I'm still very advanced, you guys, because I scrape off a lot. Let me try to warm that up with some of that naphthol red. Warm colors move forward. So I'm just trying to get the gesture. If I don't like it, I can scrape it off. Don't be scared. It's just paint. One thing I just want to encourage y'all to do is just to keep painting. And remember, it's just paint. I'm going to take a little bit smaller brush here and just swirl some of that around in here. Ooh, I like that better. See, all I needed to do, it was my drawing. And for me, it usually is. It's the drawing usually that gets me. Oops. Scooting back to look at what I'm doing. Modifying my values as I need to. Need to fix this right here.
Judy, I find it really hard after you've lightened and added to go back and add a dark over it. It just won't be dark then. Is there a trick to that?
I would suggest trying your bristle brushes and using a very light touch, making sure you have plenty of, you know, your dark color mixed up that you want, and lay on plenty of paint. So that takes practice. You know, and honestly, a lot of times you can never get it quite as dark, but I'm using plenty of paint to lay that back in. And you just have to use a light touch and practice, practice, practice. I will tell you guys that if you have seen the videos and you've been in class, you have the tools. You really, really do. Get that Tom Browning book to reinforce what I have said in these classes. If I know some people are visual learners, some are, they learn better when they read it, when it's in print. Some people learn better when they watch you paint. Hello, I don't hear it. Your internet connection is unstable. Let me turn off some stuff. If y'all can hear me, let me know, please.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, I want to make sure. Okay, all right. So I didn't lose you. That's good. I popped a breaker on the other side of the building here. Anyway, it's fine. So what was I saying? I lost my train of thought, so maybe it wasn't important.
Tom Browning book.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah, some people learn by reading it. Some people learn by actually watching an artist paint and hearing what they have to say about it. Some people, we learn things in different ways. And that's why I am going to send you guys some links to some other classes you might want to take. Some of these are online, but I'd like to introduce you to some artists that do teach and that I know of that teach. And I haven't, there's a lot of new artists that I have not taken from out there, but there is a company called Sentient Academy, and there's a wide variety of artists that you can choose from and look at their work. And the reason I encourage that is not because I want to lose people as students, but because I know we all learn in different ways, and I may say something in one way and somebody else may say it in a different way, and you'll learn it better. So I would suggest that you kind of try to digest what you've learned in this class. Read that Tom Browning book, because I think it's right in line with what I'm trying to teach you. And paint as much as you can. Paint every day if you can. And then down the road, take some additional classes from some of these artists that are really, really good. And I'll send you the names, like I said, of a few of them. And so many of them have video series out now. And I think Wendy is going to be teaching some classes again. If you like Wendy's work and would like to take a class from her, then sure, you all have her, you've all gotten her email address, because it's on our email blast that I've been sending out. So anyway.
Thanks for the plug, Judy.
You're welcome. Sorry, I get a little long-winded.
No worries.
Oh, that's Wendy. Oh, sure, Wendy. Yeah.
Actually, I'll just put in a plug for somebody else at the Oakville Art Society School up here in Oakville, my area near where I live. I don't know if you've heard of Shelley Pryor, Judy.
No, I have not.
Yeah, she did one of those sessions for Eric Rhodes, you know, when he was doing the daily, when he still does the daily paint lessons. And she's going to Austin, Texas to shoot a video for them for plein air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, there's so many. It's really great because there's so many opportunities for videos now.
Yeah.
Out there. So you guys, I am going back and forth, and you can't see. It upsets me that you can't see the value contrast and the value. I've got very gradual changing as this rose comes around of value. And so, but you'll be able to see it when I send you the photo. Okay. But this rose is looking better now. I really do take a lot of time. If I'm painting roses, I try to take a lot of time to do it right. Now, I have been kind of out of practice too. Once you paint roses a lot, you get more of in practice of how to do it and a feel for it. And I haven't painted them in a while, so I'm a little rusty. But I do love painting them. They are a lot of fun. It's very rewarding when you get a painting that you like, you feel like is worthwhile, or that somebody else really loves. Okay, I'll be carving this one out a little more with my background. Little, when I'm getting okay with those. So I'm going to move up to the other one I wanted to paint, and it is a lot of dark in it, a lot of shadow planes, a lot of warmth in there. My heater went off. It's pretty chilly outside here today. Sherry, have you guys had a lot of bad weather? Ooh. Well, maybe that was Sherry that left.
No, I'm still here.
Oh,
I just had to
okay.
unmute. I have workers
Oh.
installing floor upstairs, so they have a lot of
Oh, you do.
equipment go.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you.
But yes, we've had cold weather and wind and all that stuff down here in South Mississippi too.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we're supposed to get another cold snap next week. Okay, again, back and forth with these light to medium to darker to darkest values. So I am going back and forth, squinting. To see all of those various shapes of color. And I'm just using this little flat, these are those ruby satin brushes. I will tell you that sometimes when I'm painting roses, I like to use this sable that's an angular brush. And I don't have any small ones out, but I have used those a lot. And let me grab a couple when I paint roses. And I like them because now mine are so worn down. You guys will laugh at these, but look at that one. Oops. But they're just little angular brushes. They're sable, they're soft, but you can grab a lot of paint with one of these guys and get a nice sharp edge, especially when you're painting roses. You kind of see that. Often. Roses have a lot of little ruffly petals, and These actually, I'm so glad I found these because these are actually kind of nice. Let me put, okay, a lot of paint, Janet, a lot of paint, dark. I want to put that dark back in, a dark in. And just really just lay it on. Don't keep picking at it, but pick your dark up and lay it in. If you don't get it, pick up more paint and do it again. Okay. All right, now I need to carve these out with my background some more. Clean brush. Clean this. I'm going to use this same. Well, on second thought, I'm going to go for a different brush because I'm going to be getting into my green. I have another one of those down here, I think. I'll use this one. This is one of those silver white brushes. So let me see if I can carve these out. Drawing. Here's my drawing. Stand that out a little bit. Roses are such a challenge, but they're really beautiful if you get a decent painting. And and people really love them too. I mean, so I'm getting happier with this guy. They all have their own little personalities, don't they? They all look a little different. Okay, so so I've got all this dark in here. Over here, it's a little bit cooler. The background is a little cooler and just a tad lighter. So once I finish with this, that's what I'm going to be doing. So let me add some white to this. Ooh, way too much. Same two colors, only lighter, and it's a lot cooler. Fan out my paint just a hair so I can get it on. And carve out my flower as I come right up next to it here. Roses have a lot of little indentations, as you can see on the outside of them. These outside edges, they're very fluffy and or curly, and so you have to suggest those little negative shapes. Very important when you're painting flowers. And I'm just going to pull it into some of that other background color. There's some of that color There's a negative shape coming over to this flower. So I'm gonna sneak that in if I can. Picking up more paint, cleaning my brush. Get all that in. Well, we'll do that later. Maybe warm that up just a touch. Lighten it up some. Now on top of that, I'm going to put a lot of paint and suggest leaves. So I think this rose needs a little darker right behind it. So I'm going to stick some of that back in. A lot of paint. I'm just picking up lots of paint when I do this. Makes kind of an interesting, more interesting background too. Oh, I moved the camera, sorry. Okay, let me see if I can reposition. It's really, you know what? I'm using mostly the, because the TV is right there in front of me, I'm gonna turn this other light off. Can y'all see better if I do that? Now you can't see. Now you can't see the lights on the, let me just move this back.
Too light. That's too light.
Too light.
Oh, right there.
Okay. Good. That's a little better. Thank you. Color looks so different though. My roses are a lot pinker. Than the video show, than it shows on here. So pay close attention to the photo when I send it to you. So I've got a general shape for, and I've got a lot of my lights and well, before I say that, I'm going to put the rest of this background in. More dark. Okay. Now that I've kind of got my canvas covered here. What I want to say is this. When I get to this part of a painting, I think a good analogy, a way of putting this is, you know, when you're in first grade and you're learning to make your letters, you're learning to write your A's, B's, and C's. And when I was in school, they had a template for you to follow, and you made your A's a certain way and your B's a certain way. And then you move on up to like whatever grade it is that you learn cursive. I don't even know if they do that so much anymore, or how they do it. But when you start learning how to write your name in cursive or write it, by the time you get to be a senior in high school, your signature is your own. And how does that happen? Who knows? It evolves. It evolves from practice, from learning the A's, B's, and C's when you're in first grade or kindergarten. And then it evolves into your personality, your handwriting. And handwriting analysis people can tell the difference. How they do that, I don't know, but and how it happens, who knows? But that's similar to what happens when you're painting. The more you paint, the better you'll get at it. And the more it will evolve into saying you. It will say Mel, or it'll say Linda, and I've had people come up to me and say, I could tell that was your painting across the room. Well, I don't see that, but it just kind of happens. And I guess that's what you call your style. And the way I believe that may happen is that once you get to this point in a painting where you're somewhat satisfied with your drawing, your design, etc., with your technical things, your value, your edges, your drawing, your composition, and your color. So once you learn those things and you get that to this point, then you can start doing what I call tweaking. And you will find that the more you paint and the farther you go with this, that you will start getting into your workspace and you'll say, and you'll lose all track of time. You'll say, okay, well, it needs this. I've heard it described as let your painting tell you what it needs. And so, and sometimes you have to come back to it too. I'll say that. Sometimes you don't see it right away. Sometimes you have to come back into it the next day and you say, okay, I see that this value is too dark, or this value is too light, or the drawing's off a little bit. So let me fix that. And you will learn how to do it. And so, okay, I know I've done a lot of soapboxing today, but just want to encourage you guys not to quit, to keep painting. And I'm probably going to put some more videos out there for people to purchase on my website. Like I said, you can find, I may try to do some more advanced type videos, and so you can look for mine, or like I said, look elsewhere as well. So So now I'm just, and when I say tweaking, I just mean go back and forth, and adjust your values. Realize that it's not going to look exactly like the photograph, but you can make it your own and you can make it beautiful. And to me, the important part, but it all starts with value, edges, drawing, composition, and your color shapes. Okay, so that's what I'm doing, is just I'll go back and forth, and I'll probably look at this later and say, ooh, well, I need to do this. It happens. That's just the way, the nature of painting. And I think that's okay. You really have to learn how to do that. I'm squinting down now to see my darkest. There's a lot of dark accents in here, so I'm just gently putting those on. Now I realize my flowers probably don't look exactly like what you're seeing, but that's kind of, you know, that's kind of what impressionistic painting is, or painting representationally. It doesn't mean photorealism. I don't particularly, I admire people that do that, but I don't particularly care for photorealism. It's just not my thing. I would rather have something, I'd rather have a painting with a little bit of soul. And you're seeing what I'm seeing. So that's what representational painting is about, is seeing what the artist is seeing, not necessarily a photo. So at this point, I would like to, you know, would y'all ask me some questions, or
Judy, how often do you like to do part of the work and then let it dry some and then be able to go back and paint with that dry paint underneath so that you can add to it without? I have a lot of trouble with the colors mixing when I'm trying to paint over the top
Right.
of other things.
right. I honestly, Janet, try to do it in one sitting. It's called alla prima. And because I like mushing the paint into one another, but if you're having trouble laying darks on top, you can certainly do that. Alla prima just means, it's a Italian term that means painting the whole painting in one sitting. And so most of my paintings are smaller, and they're alla prima. But occasionally I do go back into things, especially if I'm doing a large painting, but not generally. And I can just tell you that it just takes practice to it just takes practice to be able to get to that point where you can do that.
I just find that a lot of times when I'm trying to add like another value in next to or on top, I muddy the whole thing up, and then I gotta fuss with
Right.
it.
Yeah, I'm
I
so
do the
sorry.
same thing.
Yeah, it really does take practice. Wouldn't you agree, Wendy? I mean, Wendy's been painting a long time, so that's why I pick on her. Sorry.
That's okay. Not as much practice as you have, but thank you. Yeah, it does take a lot of practice. I'm still practicing. I think we will always practice. It's always learning anyways, you know, there's so much. I wrote you, I don't think you read it yet, but like, you know, you try to learn as much as you can to paint, and then to do the teaching now, you have to learn to be a technician too.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's the hard part for me right now.
Yeah. So
Oh, gosh. You're
It's
right,
good.
though. But, Janet, I can see now that I'll probably look at this later. I may go back into it. So, okay, it just depends. Sometimes you sit down and you do something and you think, oh, who did that? It wasn't me, because you know, it just comes together and it works. But that doesn't happen all the time. So it just depends. That's my answer. My long-winded answer. Let me get some really pretty. I want to use some of my cobalt. This is one reason I put cobalt out, is because with some of these yellows, it makes a beautiful green. I'm going to add some white to it because that will tone that green down a little bit. Now I'm going to this takes practice too, okay? I don't like to go in there and make real picky, just tiny little picky leaves. I like playing with it. And so I'll use my setup and start laying in. I lay my brush on the side, and I would suggest you try this on your palette first. Lay my brush on the side like this and pull it out to make those leaves like that. And then if you want to go back in and darken part of it, you can, but
I think maybe one of the reasons ours muddles is because I might not be using enough paint.
I think that's probably true. Y'all see how big my piles are. And I tend to pick up a lot of paint when I'm doing this. I love painting roses. Sometimes they turn out, sometimes they don't, but so if I figure out, well, it's not turning out great and I don't really like it, whatever. Or if I come back tomorrow and say, yeah, I don't want to even mess with it, then I may scrape it off and save my panel. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. I'm giving you permission to fail. I'm gonna put some little suggestion stems in here. So these don't look like they're just floating in midair. Okay, I want to soften some edges. I'm gonna just pull some of my shapes into the background. I'll squint down and see where I'm missing my really pretty lights. If you guys, I know Wendy is the one that wanted to paint roses today, but there's a Daniel Keys. He's a wonderful flower painter. Oh my gosh, he's so wonderful. And he has some videos on his website. Daniel Keys, Keyes. And you can download those. I think I downloaded the rose one a couple of years ago, and it was, I think, $25, something like that. Basically, he does the very same thing as what I'm doing in a little bit different way, but so I'm gonna pull, there's a light up here, but I want to just pull that out. Softening some edges. Trying not to lose my lights. Oops. Now I'm going to go take a little cobalt blue. It almost looks like there's some violet in some of these petals. I'm just going to touch a few touches of violet in there. Actually, I'm kind of liking this okay. I feel like I have the gesture anyway. This one needs a little work. This guy. And again, I am wiping my brush a lot. Got a paper towel here. See how I just wipe. And you have to do that to keep your colors clean. Soften. Try to pull some of this together. Clean my brush again. Want to fix this drawing a little bit. What time is it? Whoops.
11:42.
These roses look so red on the screen. So red. They're not. I have turned my phone off, but I am going to turn it on and take a photo and send it to you real quick so you can see what I'm seeing. So does anybody have any other questions? Or do you want to, Wendy suggested we show each other what you've done. I don't know if any of you would be willing to do that since we're on our last class. So what do you think? Is there anything you want to show? Boy, Jenny, you did an awesome painting too. You and Wendy did, both did really beautiful Edgar Payne paintings.
That was not an easy assignment, but it was a worthwhile assignment for sure.
Oh,
Oh,
for
good.
sure. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know, as a tip, I don't know if it's
Can you
something
show your,
I
I'm sorry.
learned. So I don't know
Okay.
if it's something I learned a long time ago or whatever, but to help me see those shapes and not to get overwhelmed because there was so many shapes, I turned the picture upside down.
Right.
And that helped me to isolate some of the bigger shapes, and then I put it back right side up.
That is a great, that's absolutely right. You can also check your drawing that way.
Mhm.
And your drawing it'll stick out like a sore thumb if your drawing is off.
And I think the idea of that is, you're turning off one side of your brain, right? Your right
Right,
brain.
right. Right, yeah, you're looking at it from a different angle and a different, okay, so I am going to take a,
Well, I've been painting along, and just obviously we all have different styles, but this is what I've been working on for this little study.
Beautiful.
Nice.
So heavier brushwork and less soft, I
let's
guess.
see. Let's see that, Wendy. I didn't.
Okay, I'm holding it up.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, let me go to.
Pretty colors.
Well.
And I was just like,
yeah.
I picked a section out of this a busy flower
cool.
scene. But anyway, I just sort of I don't know, monkeying around with it.
What
Really
size
nice.
is that?
Lovely.
That's 8 by 10,
8
a
by
little
10.
more abstract, I guess. But I was just diddling around with paint while I'm listening.
It looks great.
Gorgeous. Well, I'm unwilling to show mine.
It's really fun, if you do it, to be able to critique yourself and to accept critique and learn from others' critiques and stuff. It's kind of
My
fun.
last week's I felt fine about, and so I did okay, but not my roses. I need some more practice.
Roses, as
I did
Judy
some
said, roses.
today. Mhm.
We should make
Beautiful.
up a
Looks good too, Sherry.
Oh, beautiful.
Let's see if I
Oh,
can
there
get
we go.
greater on there.
Very
Amazing.
nice.
Oh,
I-
Sherry, good job.
I
Oh,
said,
nice.
I'm not as great at keeping my brushes clean and not get my colors muddled, but I don't know. I kind of like some of the mixtures of colors though.
Yeah, that's
Very
great.
That I also did last week's along. That's the only two that I've done though, but I enjoyed it also.
Oh, wow.
And I'm really looking forward to doing that master copy.
Oh,
Very
great.
nice.
That looks great.
That's
Sherry.
great.
Yeah, good job. Well, I am really proud of y'all. 'Cause okay, so I sent a photo to you of what my painting looks like in the studio here. It looks so totally different. So hopefully you'll get that, I hope. I just sent it, but I don't see that it's sent. So, but you'll get it later anyway. So, okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for showing your work. That takes guts. It really does. Because we don't always, you know, unfortunately, it's all so personal to us, isn't it? Fortunately or unfortunately.
Okay, I'll show y'all last week's, but not this week's.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
she did a good job.
Very
Mhm.
nice.
Hey, good job. Yeah.
Well,
Can't
thank
see the
you.
one. Let's see.
Yeah, that looks great.
The day's roses would ruin your lunch.
Oh.
Here it is.
Hey, roses are not easy, so just get the, get the gist of them and anyway. So I'm just tweaking here, trying to, I'm putting back in some darker shapes, some softening. Let's just soften some of that into the background. Honestly, I'm not crazy about these yellows.
And why is
Yeah,
that?
no.
They're too bright or what?
I don't know. There's something there's something different, and maybe it's just because I'm not used to them as much. But
From here, it looks good.
they feel a little harsh. Maybe I'm just not adding enough white to them. Tweaking. Now, I will probably go back into this, or I might. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it later. Right now, I'm semi-okay with it. And I am going to quit on that. You can pick something to death, So that's a good lesson, learning when to stop.
Mhm.
And now you guys can't see the value changes in those roses. So I will send you a photo, or I already did, but I don't know, or maybe it didn't land. Yeah, so anyway, so questions, anybody? Any questions at all? Other questions?
Hang on a second. Mhm.
Judy, for the painting that we're supposed to copy, how big a canvas do you recommend we use to do that?
I think I was going to do a fairly large one, but I would say just what you're comfortable with, but I would not go over a 12 by 16.
That's what I used.
That's what you used? Yeah.
Mhm.
Jenny, that was Jenny.
I
that
did
said
12
that,
by
yeah.
16.
Yeah. Jenny, show us your painting. It's
Oh,
lovely.
I have to go get it. I will bring it to you.
Okay. If you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, I would, I'm thinking I may do mine 12 by 16. And for those people that have done it, they seem like they were really enjoyed doing it. So
I don't know if you could see that.
Oh, very nice. Awesome.
Amazing.
yes, yes, that
Fantastic
is,
distance.
that's lovely.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. The
Wow.
colors, I tried to keep the value, but colors didn't quite match his, but,
Ginny, will you hold it up
but
again?
it was great fun. I love doing it.
Oh, wow,
Wow.
that's great.
Oh,
Just beautiful.
Oh, fun.
It's really, really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Jenny is more interested in doing landscape, I think, than still life. I think. So,
Okay.
so I'm glad you got a lot out of that.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah. But I
yeah.
want to learn to do still life. So this class has been great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you feel that way. So, okay. Well, like I said, I will take some photos of this, and I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate your patience with my inadequacies as far as the technical stuff goes, but and for the interruptions that we've had, but
We
I
appreciate it
appreciate your
very much.
yeah, Judy, it's been a
Yeah.
good class and you have inspired me.
oh good.
And so gotta find some time to get the paintbrushes wet.
Oh, good.
Me
Betty
too.
says, oh, Linda from Austin. I think she enjoyed the class. Wonderful workshop. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed every class. So I'm sorry y'all didn't get to see her or hear her, but I know she has painted a lot in acrylics. So, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Linda. I apologize.
No,
but,
I was done. I
Yeah.
was done.
So I'm so glad you're feeling more inspired and how about you, Sherry? Are you painting now? Sherry paints a lot in watercolor too.
I do.
I
yeah.
know.
But
Yeah.
I am. I'm sorry. I didn't get into it till the very end because I had a lot of interruptions in the beginning. But it's like now
Right.
I'm kind of in a groove.
Yeah. Oh, great, great. So, and Janet's doing great. She has been sending me she has just started painting, but I think she's got the bug. I don't think you're.
I do. We came to our lake house for a week, so I left my paints at home, but I brought my sketch pad and my book that you recommended. So I'm going to read and do a little drawing, and I look forward to getting back home and trying to paint some more. It's frustrating
that's
though. I
right.
do get scared. It was funny when you said don't be scared, because I get so scared when I'm painting. I'm like, I'm just going to screw this whole thing up.
Oh,
You can
I
always wipe it
know.
off.
Well, thank you
Linda,
for all your
I feel-
hard work, Judy.
Mhm.
Judy
me
put in
put-
an awful lot of hard work into your course and we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
thank
you're
you.
They do.
welcome.
great.
There I am.
Absolutely.
So I thought y'all might want to see my ugly mug for the last time. That
And
way
if you
you can
need,
say,
If you need
Oh.
testimonials, Judy, like if you need testimonials, I'd be happy to give you one. I'm sure others would too. So that
Oh,
makes your
yeah.
other courses, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I would really appreciate that. And if you send something and you wouldn't mind just, you know, giving me your permission to use it, then that'd be great. Because I would like to put some of that on my website to introduce it to the class to some other people. So, and I have a young lady that I've hired from Tarleton University, which is in Stephenville, not too far from here. And she is going to help me do some editing. So, and I'm going to be putting some more little clips on YouTube. And so, yeah, so we'll see.
Great.
One
Okay.
step at a time.
Oh, we'll keep an
So-
eye on you and maybe I'll see you in April when I
that'd
come
be
down to
great,
Austin.
Wendy. Yeah, let me know. And because yeah, I'll drive to Austin and we can visit. And,
Okay, sounds good.
yeah. So, okay, guys.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you so
you.
much.
Bye.
Right.
Thanks so
Bye.
much.
We loved
Great
it.
class.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.